Hi everyone, I'm Craig.
I'm Ali.
We're here with the new Hangar 9 Elite Series ASH 31 scale sailplane. This is a new product from Hangar 9, just announced this week. We're super excited about it for a number of reasons. Ali did the bulk of the work getting this thing ready for us. Ali, do you want to give us a brief overview of what the model is and why it's important to us?
Love to, yeah. As Craig says, we're super proud. This is the first in our Elite Series. It's giant scale. It's the biggest model we've ever made in Hangar 9. And by biggest, we mean wingspan. It's just shy of 21 feet, so 20.6 feet. Departure in size, definitely to what we normally produce for Hangar 9 aircraft. And departure in construction technique. The Elite Series triggers off with this being an all-composite airframe. So by that we mean it's not our traditional balsa wood or plywood, and sometimes we have fiberglass fuselages with wooden wings which are Aura covered or Ultracoat covered. This one is all composite, so it's all fiberglass mixed in with some carbon fiber, resin to get it all joined as one. Similar to a Formula One car or a high-end race car, exactly the same construction technique as the full-scale ASH 31. So that's where the Elite Series is born. This is a long-time development. It's taken us 2 years. When I joined Horizon, it was just on the product plan. Our esteemed product developer and team marketing manager, Pete Goldsmith, actually started it off. Craig took it on, worked with the initial factory on CAD, 2 and 3D CAD, and then it came to me to finish off the development. So a real team effort.
Yeah, you talk about size, almost 21 feet. That's a big model by anybody's standards. So how on earth am I going to get this in my car?
That was one of those things that was set in stone from the get-go. I know we wanted to make a big airplane, but we understand not everyone's got a Suburban or a trailer or a super long vehicle they can put it in. So we looked at aircraft that would fit that bill as far as fuselage to wingspan ratio. So we wanted a fuselage that was reasonably compact. Okay. So what we have with the ASH 31 is a fuselage that is actually no bigger than our previous scale glider, which was the ASW 20.
Okay.
That was at 4.4 meter span. This is at 6.4 meters. So the problem is the wings. Like, how on earth is somebody going to carry all of this in their little car?
Right.
So make it like the full scale, 4-piece. Brakes just here, just at the aileron and flap joint. Excuse me, whilst I destroyed my radio, but yeah, just at the aileron and flap joint, as per the full scale, we have a brake point with a carbon fiber spar that goes through there.
Okay.
And yeah, you can dismantle this in a matter of seconds, and it then breaks down into a much smaller package.
Nice. All right, and then the stab comes off too if needed?
Yes, it's 2 screws to take the stab off, 2.5mm driver. We generally tend to leave the stab on for transport. It's an easy job, 2 screws and a clevis, but it's so much easier not to, and it doesn't affect the transportation much more. It also fits inside the bag with the stab on.
Okay. And you talk about the construction being called composite, and it's a pretty common term these days. Most people accept that as being some form of fiberglass or carbon construction. So in this case, it means the entire airplane's hollow, right? There's no solid.
Hollow molded technology is something that people are getting their head around, and we understand that Hangar 9, we've generally appealed to the club modeler, so this is a bit of a departure. So yeah, the hollow molded basically means you have the fiberglass top skin, fiberglass bottom skin, then a spar, of course, to take the loads, but there's no ribs and caps or trailing edge caps like there would be on a built-up model.
Okay. How about as far as transport or handling at home, handling at the field, any special care required?
It's actually a lot more stout than an Ultracoat wing. It's it's built to be strong. I mean, if you look at the loads we put it through when we're flying, particularly me being a little bit heavy-handed on the sticks, it had to be super strong.
Okay.
Transportation, it can dent. That's one thing that you have to be careful of. You know, if you go and put something really heavy on that soft part there, it will dent. It won't be structural, but it will be a bit of an eyesore. You can get those out. There are techniques using steam, basically, a little bit of light heat going through a wetted cloth can get those dents out.
Okay.
But in general, the handling, it's a lot more robust than a conventionally built-up model.
All right. Let's talk about the flying a little bit, or more so the launching. I mean, I think everyone can see we have a spinner and a folding propeller on the front of this one.
Yep.
ASH 31 is typically an aero tow or tow launched pure sailplane. Mm-hmm. What kind of options do we have for flying this, whether on your own or in a group?
So the full-scale ASH31 MI actually has a motor that pops up out the back. We call it a self-launch system in the full-scale world. Super cool. I mean, you look at it, it looks like a work of art, but complicated. Complicated, heavy, inefficient, and expensive. Have all those words go together. With this project, all of us agreed. We wanted an aeroplane that you could be self-sufficient. It's nice to be able to go with your buddies aerotowing, and that's a great part, and this is still capable of that. But one of those design features that was set in stone was I have to be able to go out there by myself, because nobody wants to go flying with me, by myself, and be able to launch it. That's where the motor in the front came in. I mean, I'm not going to be bold and say that we thought of this. The full-scale world is transforming. The full-scale glide, as you see now, there's a whole series that are going away from the motors that pop up and having the motors in the front. So they're self-sufficient, they can turn up at the field and fly. And more importantly, it gives them massive scope for how they fly.
Right.
You know, if you're chasing that last thermal and it's down low with no propulsion system, you've got to be brave and committed.
Right. Absolutely.
With this system, you can go and say, right, you know, if I get in trouble or I'm a little bit low, instead of landing in a field somewhere and breaking your lovely toy, just throttle up and go.
And how's the takeoff performance with that setup? I know I've seen you at Eli Field. We have a runway that's 50 feet wide and seems to always be a crosswind. I've seen you take off across that runway with room to spare, it looked like.
Yeah, I've done it from the edge of the runway to the centre line. So 8 feet was my shortest takeoff roll from wheel rolling and actually getting airborne, measured at one time.
And that's our stock E-flite Power 60 and what battery?
Well, that's the thing. It's down to more airframe efficiency and weight than it is the power system, because the power system's stock. It's not a super duper fancy $3,000 power system. It's our Power 60, 470 kV, a Castle Creation 90 amp controller, which has got bags of headroom. I mean, I'm pulling 60 amps tops out of this system.
Okay.
The standard ASW motor, the spinner and propeller combo.
Right.
And this is the best bit. I've done it with 6S, not 8, not 10, not 12. 6S is my highest battery power configuration. Okay. I've actually flown this aeroplane with that power system on a 4S 5000.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, if you give you an idea, I'll give you some comparisons, just size-wise. Here are the 3 different batteries I use. This is when I want to go flying for ages. This is a 6S 5000. This will give me 10 minutes of motor time.
Looks well used.
Yeah, this one's seen some action. Actually got this from Brian Bremer's desk, so sorry, Brian. But yeah, this will give you 10 minutes of motor action. So what that means is you're up and not out of sight, but you're at a good height to be soaring at within a minute. Okay. And within that minute, even in dead air, you're looking at 5 minutes of gliding. That's dead air with no lift. So this is like, I can almost do all day on this, you know, multiple flights. And then this is the smallest battery, 4S 3850. I've flown it with.
Looks unused.
This is brand new, yeah, how'd you guess? This is the smallest, and this is my preferred size. So 6S, 3000 to 3500. To me, this gives the best performance power-wise. It gives those super short 8-foot takeoffs. It gives me power to climb out, which I think if you look at the video, you'll see the climb out is stout. It's, you know, it's not dragging itself into the air. And more importantly, it's a great balance point as well. With all of these batteries, I don't have to use any ballast, no weight at all.
That was my next question. There's obviously a good deal of weight difference between a 4S and a 6S bag. So what, if any, changes do we need to make when we're flying? 6S 5000, you actually have to move stuff back. Okay. So I use a power safe receiver in mine because I like to have separate batteries, because this sort of thing, you could fly for hours. And I like to have that peace of mind knowing I've got 2 4,000 milliamp receiver packs going through my power safe. I don't want to be thinking, have I got enough battery to make this flight? So when I use 6S, I move those back. Okay. But they're not all the way in the nose. You'll see in a minute when I take this off. This is configured for mainly 6S use. The batteries are here with no ballast. Okay. Even the pure glider version, 2 pounds of ballast. Which sounds like a lot to the uneducated, but for a scale glider this big is incredibly little ballast. Yeah, I have a Nimbus about this size, and I think it has 7 pounds of weight in the nose.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It's a lot of weight. And you're talking about the receiver batteries back there, right?
Yes. Correct.
I think we have a question.
Hey. We have a few questions.
Okay.
Does the undercarriage have shock absorption?
No separate shock absorption. The tyre is very, very soft. We're using that as the shock absorption.
Ali, did you paint the spinner and the prop, or will it come that way?
We should have addressed that. Yeah,
we'll get into that.
It will come as the standard silver aluminium spinner, and carbon fibre blades. Some people will look at the blades and go, it's sacrilege to paint them. They're beautifully moulded carbon fibre. I ruined them by putting orange paint on, as only I can do badly, only because I wanted it to blend in more with the nose. So we've got the Tamiya part numbers of the paints listed in the manual. So if somebody wants to spend an hour, 2 hours doing that, then it's up to them. They can do, but it works great out of the box.
One more.
Sure.
What's the layup on the wing? Glass, carbon, V-Box, or full carbon? What is the core material of the layup, balsa or foam?
It's not balsa. That's as far as I go as the material itself. It's partial carbon D-Box. It's a carbon I-beam, in fact. Solid carbon spar with a carbon cap front and rear, and the rest is fiberglass. Also brings me to a point we should address as well whilst we're there, as far as construction. It was always, as I said earlier on in the video, one of my design briefs to be able to aerobat this glider. I mean, some gliders are set up just for soaring like the scale ships are. I wanted to be able to aerobat and throw this around. So Craig and I worked extensively on making the wing strong enough. And one of the things that concerned us was we didn't want to have too thick a wing. With a thick wing, you can use a thick wing tube, which is strong. But we didn't want to have that. We wanted to have a glider that would get going and move fast. And for that, we had to thin the wing. Problem there is then the wing tube isn't strong enough. So Craig came up with this system. It's a rectangular, solid carbon wing joiner. This thing is stout. I took a picture earlier on that will go online with me standing, with this brace between two chairs and me standing on this. That's, I'm not going to say exactly what weight, but it's a lot of weight. A lot more than it used to be before I moved to America weight. But yeah, it's super strong. So there's no concerns about the wing construction. As you can see again in the product video and videos that we'll release in the forthcoming weeks of all of us ragging this thing around.
And that means flying aggressively. That need a translation. So getting back to the spinner just for a second,
Yeah.
What do I have to do? Does it come with the nose cut, or how's the...
No, we wanted to look after the scale purists, the glider guys. We knew that if we cut the nose and had them stick on something, there would always be that deviation from scale. So the decision was made that from the factory it will come as a standard glider with the aerotow release option. Those that want to make it ROG, electric ROG, will take a razor saw and shorten the nose. We'll give them the dimension and shorten the nose. Sounds a bit daunting, but our manual writer Gary did this one in about 20 minutes. Glue in one ring of motor mount, which is a fiberglass motor mount, and that's it. You're electric capable.
All right.
Also, sorry to interrupt, even if you do that, you still have the ability to aerotow as well.
Okay.
The way we've set it up is the motor is quite small, so you could still have the aerotow release. Our sample number 1, which we fly the most, is both. It can aerotow and electric motor at the same
Perfect.
time.
Okay. So if you're at an aerotow event or aerotowing with friends, you can do that. But if you want to go out on your own, you can fly with electric power also. And we didn't specifically say it, but no launch dolly, no other equipment required, right?
Yeah, that's a big, big plus. I mean, our previous design, the ASW20, like a lot of the big scale gliders, if you weren't aerotowing them, so towing them up off the ground, you had to have this launch system, which was a dolly. It sounds like a weird name. Right? Yeah, it was a wooden shopping cart. Imagine this thing here with wheels on it, and it was a bit of a monstrosity. You had to carry it around, build it first, carry it around, take off, no steering or anything like that. The design brief from the get-go was to have this ROG self-launch. So it's one of the reasons why we chose the ASH31MI, because it's got this massive main wheel. So,
Okay. Talk about how you launched this. Looks a little big for a hand launch, right?
Right, that's correct. So what we'll do, a question from Courtney is how we launch the model. And what we'll do after the video ends is added a link to the product video. You can see several different launch methods in there. One of them being the ROG, what we call rise off ground, where the model takes off itself from its own wheels, no other equipment. And there's also an aerotow launch shown in that, where we tow up using a release mechanism in the front of the airplane, using a power plane, in this case the Hangar 9 X-Cub 60cc. So check out the Hangar 9 product video, it shows both of those quite well.
and we're also going to show, whether he likes it or not, Craig is going to hand launch this.
Yeah, there's a photo.
It's going to happen.
There's a photo somewhere of me hand launching the ASW20, so we're going to try it.
He's the healthiest one out of the group, so, and he did launch the ASW20 as he says, so it's got to happen with the ASH31. So look out for that video soon. We're going to wait for the hottest day, no wind, make him run.
Does the Pilot come standard?
Pilot, no, he doesn't come standard. He is an option. We've worked with some partner companies. Warbird Pilots is the company that supplied this 1/3 scale pilot. Another company in the UK called Taylor Pilots make a super detailed pilot with all the harnesses and the glasses and the watch and so forth. But no, it's not a stock item.
What size servos and how many servos?
There you go.
You know that.
It's 6 MIDI-sized servos, Spectrum 5060 HVs on the flaps, can also be ailerons, but elevator and rudder. And then on the outer panels we have the 7040 or 7050, which is the thin wing Spectrum servo. All HV, so the aeroplane is all high voltage. The spoilers, the gear, you don't have to use any regulators or anything like that. I've got two cell 4000 milliamp lipos going straight to my power safe.
You and I both worked on Warbird sailplanes. The job I dislike the most is probably cutting, fitting, hinging, actuating gear doors. So this obviously has a retract. We're going to look at that in a minute. What do I have to do to get all that functioning?
I'm the same as you, Craig. I've had so many where I've messed up the gear to the point I've ripped them off.
Right.
Yeah, worked with the factory. They were super accommodating on this project. I said, look, I begged, pleaded, and they just said yes straight away. Installed, pre-fitted, pre-hinged, pre-actuated, retract, gear door system, air brakes, air brake covers, all done.
Okay.
I was like, when they did that for me, the first sample arrived, and I about near fell over, because that was one of the jobs. I was like, super excited it's arrived, but I'm going to start with the gear doors, and they were done. And they're done superbly,
okay,
really well.
Really nice.
Sprung hinged, and that's all done. So yeah, offset, proper hinges, not tape or glue or anything like that.
Okay.
That's as it comes from the factory. Just plug that retract unit into a receiver and flick the switch. Done.
Okay. And I think you mentioned it, but the retract comes installed.
Yeah, done.
Okay.
Done.
All right.
Yeah. So
The retract, what Ali calls air brakes, we call them spoilers, installed from the factory, included in the price of $26.99. Let's talk about that price a little bit. It sounds like a lot for a Hangar 9 model or even a Horizon product. When you compare that to what you get, and I know value is subjective, it's different for everybody, but if we were to compare this to a European manufactured sailplane, the same size, same subject even, what's the difference in price and what are we looking at in difference in features and function?
we didn't go out with the mindset of chasing any particular manufacturer at all. You know, we knew that this was going to be a deviation from the conventional Hangar 9 stuff. That's the Elite Series. Right. But we were shocked at the pricing we managed to get, and me more so than anyone. 4 years ago, just before I joined Horizon, I had the exact same model, a metre bigger, but from a European supplier. And it came to me as a kit. I had them do some what we call prefab work, which was fit the canopy and so forth, and put the air brakes and spoilers in. Came to me ready to put gear in. It cost me €9,400 with delivery. So that's about the same, €9,400, about $9,400 for a metre difference in performance, in size. So at $2,700, I know, as Craig said, it sounds subjective, but it's incredible value for what you're getting.
And I know the sailplane community will appreciate that, but we wanted to talk about what that means to the regular guy and what he's going to get for his money. Can we look inside? Let's get the canopy off. How do we get this off? I'm not seeing any latches, catches. Anything.
Yeah, we had on the prototype standard hatch latch, a big thing that stuck out, pin here, basically pulled back. I didn't like that. I thought it ruined the lines of the glider, and a lot of the glider stuff is aesthetic, keeping those sleek, cool lines. So had the factory put in a hidden latch system. Actually, the latch for the canopy, although it's here, you can just see the pin, is there. See it moving back and forth? Is actuated all the way back here, underneath the trailing edge of the wing fairing. It's a small 2mm metal rod, which you pull back, like that. And that is now the canopy off.
Love it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's, again, the factory we worked with are super accommodating. Nothing was a problem to them, and we wanted to make all these little cool features to make us stand out. So, yeah. Whilst we're in here, we'll get the Warbird pilot out. So he goes. He gets subjected to much worse in the air. The seat. the tub. Very basic, but it's a part. It's a part that the pilot sits in and can be dressed up. There'll be companies, iFlyTailies will make levers and dials and so forth for those that want to make it look more like the scale seat, a cushion if you want to. Unfortunately, our factory couldn't do that, but they could give us the basis. So yeah, that's the fiberglass all composite seat pan that comes with the kit. Internally, lots of space. You're not struggling for space. That's that big hefty retract unit pre-installed that we were talking about. It's very similar to what we had on our previous design, the ASW20, but just a lot more stout. Being bigger with a longer actuation arm, it's now solid carbon framed, stronger gear, electric motor driven through a planetary gear system there and there. It's all done for you. You can see the springs there, which are for the gear doors closing. So yeah, maybe we can show that system working in a bit. If you look inside the front there, you'll see the E-flite Power 60. The aerotow release, if you want it fitted, will be here. Working with the factory now to have that fitted as standard, so people will have that all done for them. This tray here comes uncut. This rectangular hole is actually cut by the customer if they choose to go with the electric system. If they want to go pure glider, they can leave that alone unmolested and sit the receiver up here. As it is now, if you look, you've got a massive aperture there for fitting pretty much any battery. Even this well-used 5000 has got loads of room. I've used 6S 7000s on this, and that was no problem at all. Power safe receiver is hidden down underneath there. It's a 12-channel power safe I'm using. You can put it anywhere. There's loads of room, but it fitted conveniently under there.
What would be the minimum receiver requirement?
I did it on a 9-channel. I had an AR9350 set up. I think you could do it with Y leading if you wanted to with a 7-channel. Okay. The 9350 worked nicely because it gave me AS3X. It gave me the things that I love, lots of telemetry functions and so forth. But yeah, and very small. I've got the AS3000 gyro stabilization system there. This is super cool because it has the telemetry features that make this aeroplane a lot of fun. Not only does it give you the stability, which it definitely doesn't need with this wingspan and the way it cuts through the air. This isn't one of those planes that really benefits from stabilization that much. But the telemetry system, GPS, variometer, G-meter, all that sort of stuff. So I'm monitoring all the way through my flight, whether I'm climbing, ascending, descending. It's super cool. Have another question? Okay.
No, I was just checking.
Okay.
So the Vario is built into that. I've heard your radio beeping as you're flying, so that's giving you an indication of rate of climb, rate of descent.
Yeah, unfortunately, with me being the world's worst glider pilot, I don't hear the ascending part much. It's generally the descending tone that I hear. But yeah, it's cool. It's talking to me. It tells me, oh, you're going up. Because sometimes you're out there chasing a bit of lift and you've gone quarter of a mile, half a mile away. Right. It's hard to tell sometimes if you're actually in lift or not. That AS3000 device with the variometer in beeps at me and tells me, oh, by the way, you're going up. Stay where you are. Or you're going down. Get out of that bit of air and go to somewhere where there's some lift. 6mm plywood, super stout construction. We learnt a lot from our previous gliders, and I know I saw a comment yesterday came up. People asked, is it made at the same place and same construction? No, it's a lot stronger. Different composite, different wood, different bonding. So I put this thing through hell in flight loads and landings, as you kindly brought up in that video that you shared around the office of me bouncing it badly. That was intentional test, that's what I'm saying, I'm claiming that. But yeah, it takes a ton of abuse.
The orange on the day glow, is that paint or is that a decal?
All pre-painted. It comes out of the box with the orange pre-painted. You have to be a little bit careful with the orange. Like the full scale, a lot of the full scale gliders now are changing to this day glow orange because of the visibility. I wanted to capture that because I love the look, and obviously visibility wise it's a big help. Just have to be a little bit careful keeping it covered in direct sunlight. It will fade, there's no way around it unfortunately, just like the full scales, it fades in time. Keeping it covered will extend that, and then it's just a case of if you want to blow it over with the rattle can Tamiya paints to bring it back up to life, you can do.
Right. I don't see them on this one, but I believe tip wheels are provided also, right?
Correct, yeah. It's on our glider version. It's a stuck-on tip wheel. Those are for flying from grass. Won't want to use them. May not want to use them, should I say. It keeps it cleaner, a little bit more efficient. Okay. But those who are flying from asphalt and don't want to scratch the wingtips up, they're all composite moulded unit that you glue on underneath the wing.
Okay.
A couple of other questions.
Questions?
Are the winglets integrals with the tip panels?
We had a question
Greg,
about
you're down that end.
we had a question about the winglets. So as Ali mentioned, 4-piece wing, 2 main panels per side. The winglet actually plugs in on a fiberglass blade, so very easily removable for transport. And in flight, nothing extra is required for this. I think Ali's now recommending that you tape the main panels to the fuselage
joint, yeah.
and this center panel joint just with some clear tape to make sure that stays attached. The winglet, many hours of flying, no issues with the winglet staying attached. And that tip wheel attaches to the wing, not the winglet. Right. Okay.
The main panels are held on with a thumb screw, so it's toolless assembly.
Gotcha.
You don't have to tape the main panels on at all. They have a big stout.
How do you like those shoes? Oh, Gavin's watching.
I feel left out.
Yeah, Gavin had a little something
to
to
do
do
with
with
that we
these
have to
shoes.
design. I would have worn white or something.
Yeah. Warm today. They go with the orange. A quick apology on the specs for the airplane on our website. The wing area is either missing or not listed correctly. So I measured that this morning. It's around 1,920 square inches. So almost 2,000 square inches is the wing area of the model. What else you got, Al?
I don't know. Toolless assembly we've done. Flight times. Got asked yesterday, how long does it fly for? That's one of those things that really depends on the pilot himself. You can happily log hours and hours of flying on one battery if you want to, but average flight time on the battery, if you want to fly it around like a loon, like I do, which is just go up, glide, do some aerobatics and so forth, 10 to 15 minutes easily, even on the smallest battery. So yeah, that's easy.
Scale sailplanes in general are pretty generic looking, mostly white. So guys like to customize what they can, which is typically the registration and then the tail ID. So what's involved with doing that?
Yeah, it's a funny one because the factory, I sent them the registration I wanted to use, which isn't actually scale to any particular glider, and we do that for legal reasons, so we're not borrowing the scheme of somebody's glider. But they painted them on. All of these are painted. Same with the AR. The flag is a sticker. And I realised early on that's not cool because somebody may want to make this into the scheme of their ASH or something different. So what it's going to come with now is a plain white fuselage with a really nice vinyl sticker that you can put on with this registration. Maybe some others if I can twist the factory's arm. But if you want to, it's a company like Cali Graphics, really well-known company in the USA, they'll be able to cut you any specific vinyl.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure we'll see ones with all vinyl designs, fancy designs on them. I know the European guys do that a lot, so I look forward to seeing that.
Let's talk about availability. I mean, it's not specifically a custom-built airplane, but it's not able to be produced in the manner of a normal Hangar 9 wooden airplane. So what are you talking about as far as availability? When are we going to be able to get these to people?
Yeah, it's a longer lead time with this airplane. I wouldn't expect anything less. The layup is a lot more involved than building a wooden and ultra coat covered wing. So our first shipment of these is due in fall of this year. We're ahead of it. We've been working a long way ahead of it. We actually held the release specifically for that reason. So yeah, we'll see them in the shops around about. Yeah, I reckon September, maybe it's between September and November is the window that I'm hoping for the first batch. With that in mind, it's a lovely position to be in. The first batch is selling out super quick. I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but hand on heart, we're already halfway through our first sales batch, and this released yesterday. Oh my gosh! Yeah, in one day. So we're thoroughly recommending pre-ordering. It's non-committal. You don't have to pay anything. We don't take any money up front. You go to hh.com or your dealer and say, look, or your local dealer and say, I'd like to buy an ASH. Put your order in. It's secure. You're on that first batch. And then when it comes to time of delivery, if you want to cancel before that, we understand fully. But yeah, then your card is charged.
Okay. In the meantime, you and I talked about this. You've got a couple of samples. We've got some local Team Horizon hobby pilots who are dedicated sailplane guys.
Yep.
I think you've turned one or two of these loose with those guys to go and hit some events. So maybe some of our customers could get to those events and fly the airplane, at least see it in person.
We have, two team pilots that have been very kind and offered to take it to events, travel with it, fly it, and let other people fly it as well. We have the Horizon Aerotow, the best of all the Aerotows coming up in
3 weeks away?
3 weeks here in Monticello, Illinois. We'll have 3 of these, all being well, at that event. If you want to come and get some stick time, I'm happy. I'll have the IX-12 set up on wireless body box. I'm more than happy as long as people register and fly at the event itself. come along and register the event, then yeah, come and get some stick time. If you want to have a play and you're interested in ASH, there's no better way for me of showing this product off than in the air.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? I'm about out of questions. I think that's everything I needed to know.
No, I think anything from you guys?
What scale, Craig?
What did we figure out yesterday? 1 to 3.28, something like that. So,
Not to be exact. Can you guess which one of us figured that out? When somebody asked me what scale, I went, it's big.
Is accuracy a crime?
That's
So that's a little smaller than the third scale.
Yeah.
So for those guys that want to do the GPS triangle racing, I believe it qualifies for that also. And on that note, I know the sailplane guys are into the tech and the specs, so we've already had a few questions about the airfoil. The wing is a modified MH32, and then the tail section is an HT section that comes from Mark Drayler, who's very well known in the soaring world.
To those people like me, it means it flies amazing. But yeah, I'm very, very pleased with how it flies, not only as a soaring glider, but also as aerobatics. The aileron, the wings configured, so these are generally flaps on the full scale, but they can also be configured to go upwards, so you can have a full span aileron. Craig will probably show you down that end when Carl's doing the back in. So that you can use as aileron, what Craig's moving there, but if you want a faster roll rate, you can deflect the inner section upwards. So yeah, it's really good. It allows point rolls, rolling circle I've done with the gliding version, snap rolls if you want to, so it's not just an out-and-out glider.
And the wing surfaces are what we call skin hinged, right? There's no separate hinge, but whether it be a plastic hinge or a CA hinge. The skin that forms the surface of the wing is the hinge itself, and you'll see the aileron is hinged on the top. There's a very light line there where the hinge moves, and then the flap is hinged on the bottom, and that's to give the most amount of movement in the direction where you need it most.
Also has that aerodynamic blade on the flap as well. That's molded in, so you don't have a big gap showing. It's all about efficiency with gliders. So yeah, we had the factory put that in, which is nifty. There's no hinging to be done out of the box. The rudder is the only thing that needs to be hinged per se, and even that's glued in, and you have a pin that slides out, a metal pin, so your building time is so minimal. With the gear installed, the pre-hinging and the air brakes installed, I honestly think I could build one of these in 4 hours. So yeah, particularly if I'm doing just a glider version, easy, 4 hours done, out of the box. I'd like to one day turn up to an event with one in a box and fly at that event, so yeah. And on that note, we were talking about earlier on, I forgot to touch on it really, was about the pricing and the way it's set up and the prefab. We're really looking to try and capture the guy who, we understand we're not going to get the average club modeler with this, and it's not set up for that. We're looking to help the guy and service the guy or girl who wants to go and step up. You know, they've played with gliding a little bit, or they've wanted to buy a high-end glider. $9,000 is just way out of their price range, and having a big van is way out of their abilities or desires to carry a model. This is for that person who wants to do that, but wants to invest a lot less. So whilst it seems expensive, it seems complicated, it's not. It's great value for money and super simple aeroplane to operate.
We're out at 30 minutes, so.
Okay. Thanks, that'll do it for us. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for your questions. Please check the description for the link to the product video, and check back on the Hangar 9 Facebook page in the next couple of days. We're going to try and post a list of where the models will be available at Aerotow events for people to come and see and fly.